It was funny in a cruel way. I used to think the worst part of being born an Omega in America wasn't the biology, it was the pity in everyone's eyes. That, and the whispered reminders that I'd never be more than someone's burden, someone's weakness. But that was before I looked up into the eyes of an alpha who should have broken meaned instead. He saw me. The city had a way of swallowing people whole. New York, endless and relentless, stretched above me with its towers of glass and steel, while I felt smaller than ever in the spaces between. I pulled my hoodie tighter, ignoring the sharp bite of early spring wind against my skin, wishing like always that I could vanish. Omegas weren't supposed to wander alone at night, not in a place like this. It made me reckless. It made me desperate. And maybe that's why I did it anyway. My name is Noah Hayes, 21, college dropout, Omega, walking stereotype. And right now, the only thing louder than the honking cabs was the steady chant in my head. Don't let them see you break. The scent hit me first. That faint, intoxicating note of cedarwood and storm air, deep and commanding, cutting through the city stench. My body reacted before my mind did, every nerve on high alert. Alpha. I should have run. I should have ducked into the subway, blended into the crowd, done anything but freeze like a deer under headlights. Instead, I turned, and there he was, tall, broad, the kind of man who didn't look like he belonged in the chaos of the streets but rather above it, someone untouchable, dangerous. His hair caught the yellow glow of the street lamp, blonde and sharp against his chiseled jaw, and those eyes icy blue locked on me like he could strip away every defense I'd built just by staring. The alpha stepped closer. His presence pressed against me like gravity, unavoidable. You shouldn't be out here alone, he said, voice low, steady, the kind of voice that carried both a warning and a promise. My throat tightened. I hated that I trembled. And why do you care? I shot back, though my voice cracked halfway. I'm not your responsibility. His gaze softened barely, almost imperceptibly. But I caught it, that flicker of something human behind the dominance. Maybe not, he said, but you're someone's. I wanted to laugh at the irony, because in that moment, I was no one's. Not my family's, they'd written me off the day my designation came back. Not the system scholarships don't survive the weight of suppressants, medical bills, and stigma. And certainly not the world's, because people like me weren't meant to belong. Yet he looked at me like I mattered. His name was Ethan Carter, 23, alpha, law student, and the most infuriatingly steady human being I'd ever met. We met again 2 days later, not by accident. I caught him leaning casually against the coffee shop wall near my apartment, like fate had ordered him a latte and told him to wait. He didn't ask for permission when he sat across from me, didn't flinch when my scent spiked nervously across the table. He just looked at me with those calm blue eyes and said, "You don't have to keep pretending you're fine." I hated him for it. I hated the way his words burrowed under my skin, hated the way my chest ached when I realized he actually meant them. No pity, no disgust, just recognition. "Why are you doing this?" I asked him one evening, voice sharper than I intended. "You don't even know me. You could have anyone, any Omega. Why waste your time on the broken one?" He leaned forward, his hand brushing mine across the table, a spark like fire beneath my skin. "Because I don't see broken. I see you. The thing about alphas is they're supposed to be overwhelming, controlling. But Ethan never once tried to cage me. He walked beside me instead of in front, asked instead of demanded, listened instead of assumed. And slowly, against every instinct I'd sharpened into armor, I let myself breathe when he was near. But the world doesn't forgive softness. Word spread. Whispers about the golden alpha scene with a nobody Omega. Rumors sharper than knives. I'd been ignored for so long that being noticed felt worse, like standing under a spotlight naked. Then came the night that broke me. It started with laughter mocking, cruel behind the campus gym. I should have walked away, should have swallowed my pride, but they cornered me before I could. 3 alphas, sneering, circling like wolves around a rabbit. Carter's little charity case. One of them spat. "Tell me, does he like his toys weak?" I froze, blood roaring in my ears. My suppressants were running low, my body betraying me with every heartbeat. I could smell their dominance pressing in, choking, suffocating. One of them shoved me hard, my back slamming into the wall. The laugh that followed was worse than the pain. And then was there, Ethan. The shift in the air was instant. His presence crashed over us like a tidal wave, fury laced with protective instinct, alpha dominance so sharp it made the others stumble back. He didn't roar. He didn't need to. His voice was ice when he said, "Touch him again and you'll regret breathing." For the first time in my life, I wasn't ashamed of needing someone. Because the way he stood in front of me wasn't about power, it was about protection. When the others scattered, tails tucked, I sank to the ground, shaking. I hated that I cried. But Ethan knelt beside me, his hand cupping the back of my head, pulling me close until my forehead rested against his chest. His heartbeat was steady, grounding. "You're safe," he whispered. And God, I wanted to believe him. That night, in the quiet of his apartment, wrapped in a blanket that smelled of cedar and warmth, I asked him the question that had been clawing at me since the beginning. Why me? He looked at me, blue eyes blazing with something I couldn't name. Then he reached out, his fingers tilting my chin up so I couldn't look away. Because, Noah, from the first moment I saw you, you made me want to be more than what I was told I had to be. You make me want to choose. I didn't realize I was crying until his thumb brushed the tears away. And when he kissed me soft at first, hesitant like he was asking instead of taking, I let myself fall. For once, I wasn't a burden. I was wanted. The weeks that followed were like walking a razor's edge. Ethan and I grew closer in ways I hadn't thought possible. At night talks that stretched until dawn. Quiet dinners where silence felt like its own language. Stolen touches that lingered long after we pulled away. Yet every moment of tenderness came with the sharp sting of reality. Whispers followed us everywhere. Alphas who looked at me with disdain. Omegas who looked at him with envy. Professors who suddenly treated me like I didn't belong in the same room. And my own family, who once told me I was nothing, suddenly resurfaced with venom when they found out I had snared a Carter heir. The truth was, Ethan was different from the world I knew. He came from a family name that held weight, power. They had expectations, traditions. And I was the reminder of everything they despised in Omegas. The breaking point came one cold evening when he brought me to his family's estate. The mansion was everything I wasn't: polished marble floors, endless halls, portraits of ancestors whose gazes judged from the walls. His mother's smile was brittle, his father's handshake like steel. "You don't belong here," his father said later, once Ethan was out of earshot. His voice was calm, cruel. "Do you think he'll throw away his future for you? For someone broken?" The words sliced through me, reopening scars I thought had healed. And the worst part? A part of me believed him. That night I almost left, packed my bag, hands shaking, heart aching. I thought I was protecting Ethan from the inevitable war his family would wage. Thought leaving would prove I wasn't the burden everyone said I was. But Ethan found me before I could step out the door. His voice cracked when he said my name. Noah. Couldn't meet his eyes. "You'll lose everything because of me. Everything means nothing without you," he said. And when I looked up, his eyes weren't just steady, they were pleading. "Don't you get it? You're not a weight I carry. You're the reason I keep walking." The tears came hot and fast, and before I could speak, he crossed the space between us, holding me as if letting go wasn't an option. We fought for each other after that. Ethan stood against his family, against the system that wanted to dictate who he could love. I stood against my fear, learning that maybe strength didn't mean standing alone, but daring to lean on someone who refused to let me fall. The world didn't change overnight. There were protests, ugly words, even threats. But we kept going hand in hand, through fire and fury, through days when exhaustion pressed like stone. And slowly things shifted. His father saw the way Ethan looked at me and realized this wasn't rebellion, it was devotion. My family, bitter as they were, faded into silence when they saw I wouldn't crawl back begging. And our circle of friends grew with people who believed in us, who saw beyond the labels of Alpha and Omega, who saw love as love. The true turning point came on a quiet spring morning. The air smelled of rain, fresh and new, and the city felt alive in a way it hadn't in months. Ethan led me to the rooftop of his building, where the skyline stretched like an ocean of steel and light. My chest tightened as he turned to me, eyes so full of emotion I almost couldn't bear it. "Noah," he said softly, pulling a small silver band from his pocket, simple yet shining in the gray light. "I don't want the world's approval. I don't want tradition or duty or expectations. I just want you, every day, for as long as you'll let me." I covered my mouth, tears spilling before I could stop them. My whole life I'd been told I was nothing, and here he was asking me to be everything. My voice broke, but the word was steady. "Yes." He slid the ring onto my finger, and when he kissed Melong in deep and full of every promise he couldn't put into words, the city roared around us. 1,000 lives moving, none as important as the two standing on that roof. Love didn't erase the past. I still carried scars, still had nights when I doubted, when I woke in fear. But Ethan was there through every shadow, his hand anchoring me, his voice reminding me that I wasn't alone. And slowly, I began to believe him. We made a home together, small, imperfect, but ours. Morning coffee and shared textbooks, messy laundry and burnt dinners, quiet evenings curled up on the couch. Happiness wasn't grand or dramatic. It was in the way he looked at me when I wasn't paying attention, the way he whispered my name when I fell asleep, the way he held me like I was precious. For the first time, I understood what it meant to belong. I used to think my story was one of survival, of scraping by, of proving I wasn't the burden everyone claimed. But looking at Ethan, at the life we'd built, I realized I'd been wrong. My story wasn't about being less. It was about finding the one person who saw me as more. And in his arms, in those alpha eyes that held both strength and love, I finally knew I was never a burden. I was a choice. I was his, and he was mine, forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.